Alright, video number 2. Hello, today I would like to formally introduce my scrap quilt. She is a behemoth of a project. What started as a fun little project to use up little pieces of fabric and reduce textile waste quickly spiraled into 2 or likely 3 separate quilts, with scraps making up not only the fronts but also the backs of each. Technically, she is scrap quilts, plural. The original section is the 2-inch square quilt, named so because I cut out several butt tons of 2-inch squares. And yes, butt ton is the official unit of measurement. Eventually, I decided that I didn't like wasting the fabric that was just shy of 2 inches, so I upped the ante of insanity and started cutting 1 by 2 inch pieces, as well as 1-inch squares. Because of seam allowance, it would take 3 1-inch squares to make a 1 by 2 strip, and 3 strips to make a 2-inch square. I did actually finish this quilt top. It is massive, and quite frankly, difficult to look at. It also only made a moderate dent in my scrap stash, which at this point was growing, as I was sewing more and also working in a costume shop in college, where I would rescue leftover fabric from the trash. This brings us to the Great Divide. On one hand, I started making a quilt back for this quilt using 1 and 2-inch strips that were left unsliced into squares from the front. On the other, I sorted my scraps into 3 piles: warm tone, or red, cool tone, blue, and neutrals. The neutrals were destined to fill out the back of the quilt, as the strips alone would not cover it all. But red and blue, this brings us to a new quilt. Warm tone on one side, cool tone on the other. The red-blue quilt is somehow even more massive than the original quilt top. As in, covers the entire surface area of a piece of king-sized batting. It was supposed to be smaller. Made up of 8 by 8 inch squares, it was supposed to be 12 by 12 squares. But I stopped paying attention to that when I was putting things together, and before I knew it, I had 2 8 by 8 sets of red. Red got put on the talent shelf as I worked on blue, which had plenty to become 16 by 16, fitting the path I sent red down. But now red needed more squares. I had plenty of red scraps still, as I stopped once I had enough squares for what I thought I needed. Much more piecing later, here we are today. Finally, with enough red blocks. Hopefully. Between decent math and shoddy counting, I think I might just have enough. That is what we are here to see today. Today's project is putting together all my blocks. It's a pretty simple process. I pick 2 blocks, sew them together, repeat. Iron them open, now repeat with the rectangles, then again and again. The goal is to get 2 more 8 by 8 panels so I can combine them with my other 8 by 8 panels. I could have done everything in rows, then sewn the rows together, but they are very long rows, even if I had done them in the right size. I preferred to sew progressively longer and longer seams versus many short seams followed by several very long seams. The 8-inch blocks themselves are sewn with a method I've learned as crumb quilting. It mostly involves sewing any straight edge to any other straight edge to put 2 pieces together. I learned this from a lovely lady on YouTube named Darlene, which I still somehow remember 10 years later. I'll try to link her videos if I can find them again. 10 years. Gosh, this is an old project. Anyway, since I had had enough of cutting out 2-inch squares, I decided to give this method a go, and it definitely served me well. I found I liked to size match my pieces as I was putting them together, since it reduced how much went to cabbage and minimized the amount I would put 2 pieces together and then have to cut them apart into 2 pieces again later. The biggest thing is just finding a straight edge. Sometimes you just have to invent a straight edge. At some point I also learned that stretch fabrics, while they could be used, were too annoying and not worth the effort to include. But these quilts include pretty much everything else, from fleece to faux fur to pleather to lame. Some fabrics probably should have been left out. But alas, they are included now. This project, these quilts, contain a lot of memories. Between the memories of working on them for over a decade and the memories in the fabrics. This has been a labor of love and hate and insanity. But the craziest part right now is that I see a light at the end of the tunnel. These quilts are getting remarkably closer to becoming actual, real quilts. Sure, there's plenty left to do, but compared to what has been completed, we're almost there. quilt top is done. What an absolute relief. To call this done, even if it's only a piece of it, is an amazing weight off. I still have to bind it to the blue side and then quilt it, not to mention circling back to the other original quilt of this project, but for today I am very pleased. I will likely switch gears to another project next time, I'm not sure what just yet, but it feels like it's time for a change. Thank you again for watching, and I hope I see you in the next video. I hope I make another video. This has been kind of fun so far, so yay. I still don't know how to end a video. Bleh, 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 bleh. Words not working, bleh, words. Words. Made up of 8 by 8 inch squares. It was supposed to be 12 by 12 squares. Okay, now let me read that like a normal person. I will likely... There goes a command hook.